Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, Waterfront Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. And you are here in the Java Cafe. Let me fix my mic here and get adjusted real quick. Okay. As we do this year, and this is our third year in partnership with the Coalition for Resilient and Inclusive Waterfront. How can I forget the name? We've been saying it for 3 years. And the first 2 years, they came in every month on the second Wednesday. This year, it's every even month on the second Wednesday. And so it is an even month, June. This month is very special to my guest and I, because we are here to talk about this week, the highlight of the work that Crew does. It's the impact after the events. That's the major highlight. Use of the waterfront, equity. But the highlight as far as events is Waterfront Wellness Week, and that is taking place starting on June 15th and going to June 24th. And for those of you that take screenshots of the show and want the link, we shorten it for you. You can go to lowercase jwj.info/Waterfront Wednesday WFW24 to get more information. But rather than just going to the website, we have some great folks that are going to come in with us today. I was just teasing her a few minutes ago. Actually, all of them can be considered vets. I think this is Chris' second appearance. This is Lou's from the New England Aquarium's third or fourth appearance. This is Marcia's third or fourth appearance. This is Chris's second, I think, appearance, but I've known him a long, long time. And one of the men behind all of the great work that's going on at Crew, he's usually in the background, but we got him to be on screen today, and that is Ian Carby, who is representing Crew. And so I want to give a chance for them to introduce themselves, but I would like to turn it over to Ian. He didn't know, but he's going to kind of serve as my co-host this morning, and he'll introduce our family from the coalition. And so, Ian, you of all people, this is your first time on screen with me, I think, or is it the second? It's
my third. But it's been 2 years. It's been 2 years since I've been on, so that's all good.
Okay, so it's your third time. And so you know what to do. Please tell us why we're here today and introduce our guests, and they can introduce themselves a little bit further. And then we're going to go into each of their contributions to Waterfront Wellness Week. So, Ian, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, James. Yeah. So Waterfront Wellness Week started 3 years ago, which feels crazy to say now. And our main goal was to highlight the health and wellness benefits of public blue spaces and green spaces all around Greater Boston. At the coalition, we highlight the Boston Harbor, the Charles River, the Neponset River, and the Mystic River. So yeah, we wanted to highlight the incredible programming that all of our partners, we have 60 partners, so there's lots of great events going on. And one of the best ways to get people out to the waterfront to experience all these benefits that we talk about are going to events and understanding how they can get there and what they can do there, and having people to go and do those fun things with. So that's what Waterfront Wellness Week is all about. And we've got 3 awesome partners here with us today to be able to talk a little bit more about some of their programming. So I'll turn it over to Marcia if you want to start with kicking off with your intro.
Sure. Good morning. So glad to be with you. My name is Marcia Kim Jackson, and I am the founder of the West Fairmount Hill Community Group and the baby that it gave birth to, the Forum for Racial Equity in Hyde Park. And we're doing, I believe, the most exciting thing this week, which is to host our Juneteenth event. We'll talk about that later on. But what I will say is our partnership with Crew has been so fortuitous, so rich, and so rewarding for us. And so we're grateful that we have a chance to really go alongside you as you amplify the benefits of the waterfront, but also bring us in proximity to the waterfront and the things that it has to offer. So thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Yeah, so let's go over to Luz next.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to be here with 4 of my favorite people ever. I'm honored. I'm Director of Community Engagement at the New England Aquarium. We have been active members of the coalition since day one, and especially recently looking at ways to bring more people to the downtown waterfront, working closely with Ian and the team on connecting wellness and health to being outdoors and being by the ocean. It all ties back to our mission of making sure that we conserve the ocean alongside all of us.
Okay, let's round it out with Chris.
Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here. Chris Cook, Executive Director of the Rose Kennedy Greenway Conservancy. We're the park that connects neighborhoods and people through ecological horticulture, diverse and vibrant public art and programming in downtown Boston. And also really, really excited because I live on Davison Street. So I'm very, very excited to hear about the High Park celebration for Juneteenth. And, you know, we obviously partner with the New England Aquarium and the rest of the coalition on a regular basis and want to make sure that the waterfront, all of Boston's waterfront, is as inclusive and as exciting as possible. So happy to be here.
Absolutely.
Thank you all so much. And James, I just realized I didn't say it. My name's Ian. I'm a physical therapist.
You, but you got it. You got it.
I'm a physical therapist, and I joined the coalition initially to focus on health and wellness. So that's my specialty area, and that's why this is one of my passions. So I'll turn it back over to you, James.
Ian, we're glad to definitely have you here. And it's so interesting. Ian's like, this is my 3rd time. Now, I'm saying first. He was like, no, bro, this is my 3rd. So definitely glad to have you back. And so we'll start this segment in talking about each of your contributions to Waterfront Wellness Week. Again, for those of you that are just tuning in and watching, Waterfront Wellness Week begins on June 15th and goes until June 24th. And you can go get the information at that shortened link, case specific jwj.info/WFW24. And so what I'd like to do is just by order who's on my screen, Luz, if you can tell us what your contribution is from the New England Aquarium. Shout out to my good friend Vicky there, who is the president and CEO. Tell her I said hello. But what is your contribution to Waterfront Wellness Week? Tell us the date and what you're doing, and end it with how you feel about it.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure Vicky is excited for her next selfie that she'll take with you. She's a big fan. So I'll let her know you said hi. Yeah, so we are excited on Friday, June 21st in the morning. We're going to be hosting a yoga class in our tent behind the aquarium right on the waterfront. It'll be a nice, slightly post-sunrise yoga class. It's free. It's open to anybody. And I'm excited because it's just giving another example of how you can use the waterfront, and especially that area, the tent, where it's usually you see weddings and, you know, large corporate events. You can just come and enjoy it and go on with your day. So we're really excited for that. And you'll be joining us.
I am actually the host for that event, so I'm excited about that. And Yoga Mike, for many of you from the community knows, he'll be our yoga instructor. And talking about the tent and just that view, Luz, I was there for World Ocean Day with you a couple of weeks ago, and just now I don't do yoga yet, but I'm going to be there and enjoy, like, when just being able to see through the I was going to say flaps, but the tent piece there, and just looking out on the ocean and doing yoga. I believe that is going to be very refreshing and a great start for Folks Day on Friday, June 21st. So we'll get information on my page. The New England Aquarium will share it. And as I said before, for you to go and get all of the information about all of the events, jwj.info/Waterfront Wednesday, Waterfront Wellness, WFW24, and all of the events are there, and that'll take you right to the site. And so, Marcia, let's turn it over to you, and you let us know what you're doing for Waterfront Wellness Week. And I mean, you already kind of told us a little bit, but give us the rundown for this coming Saturday.
Sure. You know, water is so important to our communities, and Hyde Park, as you may know, and Chris, you can attest to this, is sort of physically far away in proximity to the waterfront. But I'm so grateful for Crew and the work that it does, because it brings the water to us and makes it feel like we're there. And it also makes it accessible to have a space on the waterfront. So we this week will launch our 4th annual Juneteenth celebration, and we'll kick it off first thing in the morning with yoga, supported by crew, by the coalition, and yoga led by a Black woman. And that's significant because so much of the history of our community is not centering Black excellence, Black practice, Black focus on health. So we're going to be doing that with yoga and then with a cardio dance program. And then we're partnering with the Neponset River Watershed Association, and they're going to be offering free free canoe rides on the Neponset River, which is just behind the site that will have the Juneteenth celebration on. So that starts at 8:30 in the morning on June 15th, and the cardio dance is at 9:20, and the canoe rides are at 11:30, and they're free on running all day. And we welcome anyone and everyone to come down to enjoy the beautiful spaces that we have here in Hyde Park and the waterways that are so nourishing to us and really it brings vitality. So we're looking forward to that.
Absolutely. And Chris, Marcia, alluded to the fact of bringing the water to Hyde Park, and she referenced to you in the watershed and whatnot. And Chris, I was going to get in trouble. Chris and I used to work together. And so Chris knows community, he knows work, he knows inclusiveness and things like that. And so, Chris, tell us a little bit about what the Greenway is doing. And then if you could give your perspective of just someone who has served in Parks and Rec and in City Hall and now doing this, just your impression along with your event, but your impression of just how important this inclusiveness is.
Sure. Yeah. So just really, really quickly on the Rose Kennedy Greenway, our big contribution to Waterfront Wellness Week is a focus on wellness in partnership with the Blue Cross Blue Shield Fitness Series that we provide. And in fact, just ahead of official Waterfront Wellness Week, tomorrow night, we're going to be having a fitness festival where people can come sample all the instructors that will be out on the Greenway all year long. All these classes are free. Throughout Waterfront Wellness Week, we have a diversity of providers, high impact training, soma, yoga, dance cardio, a lot of different opportunities. Just go to our website or go to the coalition's website rather, and that all those opportunities be listed. But to your broader point, James, the coalition is really, really critical. Boston is a city that is defined by water, and actually our next 50 years will be defined by water. It's really, really important that communities of color feel empowered to take ownership of the waterfront, because largely their lives are going to be defined by what we do with that waterfront. So how do we adapt for climate change, but also how do we expand recreational opportunities to improve the health outcomes for these communities? The waterfront belongs to all people, so all people should feel ownership of it. I think that's why the coalition is important. I think it's why all our partners on this call are doing really, really critical work.
Chris, I was about to, and we've been in church together before. I was about to get an organ and tune you up a little bit because you started to preach there. There's a quote that's going to come out there, and I think you said the waterfront is for all people, and all people. We can run it back and get it, but you're going to notice that as a clip on social media soon. Thanks you so much for that. And so, Ian, with everything that the partners have said, these folks have been with you for your 2 years, but the coalition's 3 years. Why is the coalition working so hard, not just for the events, policy, and other things? Our mayor is in support of this. What is the mission and the hopeful outcome of the work that crew is doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our hope is that Chris put it in great words with, I think, what we just said, with making sure that the waterfront feels like it's open for everyone, and for us to be able to feel like the waterfront can last as well. So as much as we want the waterfront to feel inclusive, we also want to make sure that there's climate resiliency behind the inclusivity that we're doing. Within all of that too, to promote that there are lots of different waterfronts. So Marcia, I loved what you said, that you're partnering with the Neponset River Watershed Association, another one of our partners, and leaning into the Neponset River, which is right there. And that is a waterfront. That's a space that should be taken advantage of and utilized. So I think a lot of what we want to happen is happening, which is really exciting. And then we just want to expand this and to continue making people feel more comfortable in these spaces, and demonstrate ways that these spaces can be utilized too.
Absolutely. Lou's, similar to Chris, your downtown Wingeland Aquarium is a corporation, well-known, established corporation in the United States here. Talk to us about your and the aquarium's commitment to this inclusivity. Like all of us, Boston Public Schools, we go to the aquarium. I meant to tell you, World Ocean Day, the young man that was the DJ, he's going to get me for this, but he sometimes couldn't go on the field trips because of little behavior or whatever. It was his first time seeing the penguins.
Wow.
He's over 30 years old. And when I tell it's just, and the past few years that I've been there, it's just different feeling. You feel the welcomeness, for lack of better words. But talk to us about why New England Aquarium is purposeful and intentional in creating this welcome feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for stories just like that of getting people there for the first time or the 100th time, and whether you have kids, whether you don't, our hope is to get everybody down to Central Wharf. But to your point about a different feeling, I think, of course, it starts with leadership. So I mentioned Vicky already, but she is such a champion for making sure that all staff is on board to make an inclusive environment. And I really think the pandemic was an inflection point for the aquarium because we had no choice but to start over in a lot of ways. It was a great moment for us to think, what do we want to continue and what do we want to do a little different this time? And so we've been very intentional about looking at communities and people who haven't historically felt welcome down at the waterfront or specifically at the aquarium, and how can we start to break down those barriers? It definitely takes time. This isn't an overnight thing, but I think that's what is exciting about it to me, that it's all about relationship building and building that trust so that when people do come down, finally, they see a familiar face. Oh, Luz, we met at the Juneteenth event. It's so great to see you. Or I saw you on the Greenway. And so building that over time, and we're starting to really see the impacts, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Marcia, I can ask you to jump in right here. And it's a little different for you because, the watershed and then the Ponset River, we see, growing up, you see the signs on the highway, dump here, something, Neponset waterway, something. And so there's a different angle for you because there's not as much water. We're in Hyde Park. We're a little more inland, but it's just as important to take advantage of that waterway as well. And you, as a Black woman, Luz as a woman of color, yes.
Yeah, sure. And I've got to say, before I talk about that experience of being proximate to the water and the benefits of that as a Black woman, I want to say thank you to the New England Aquarium, because last fall, we brought some folks to the aquarium from Hyde Park, from our MLK celebration, and next January. And can I tell you that there were senior citizens in that group who also said that was their first time in the New England Aquarium space. So
senior
citizens said that, people over 60. And so I can't begin to tell you how important your work is, Liz, and how much of an impact you all are making in the community and making it such an open space, a welcoming space. But for me, I was with my husband this morning. He works at a school, Boston Prep, and just across from the school is part of where the river runs behind the Sasha Riverwood. And we got in the car and he said to me, "Do you hear that?" And I said, "Yes, the water, you heard the water rushing by." And he said, at the top of the building, we go out often as a teacher and look over, and we could see the water rushing. And after a day with the kids and when all this happened, it just brings such serenity to that room, even though it's not on the water, but we can see it. And so I think it's important for us to understand the healing nature of being a part of a waterway like the Neponset River inside of a city, Hyde Park, that's a little bit crowded, right? And so for me, I really feel like it's a central theme for us to create a space of wellness with having access to the water. And we're grateful that we're able to do that. I will also add that Hyde Park is looking to build a health and wellness center. And so we want to make that tie to the water. And so our hope is that those who are focused on wellness will support our effort in building a health and wellness center. We have a steering committee. Anybody's welcome to join it. And we'd love to have those who want to come alongside us to really center wellness in our community.
Marcia, thank you so much. And Chris, our guest preacher this morning, we can have you wrap it up a little bit and talk about the Greenway's commitment to this. And, one of the things for me that the Greenway most recently is known for is that standing exhibit by Pro-Black. And that was monumental. There were so many people that came, and I went to a couple of events there, and kids are walking up and people are walking up and they felt seen. on the Greenway. You know what I mean? And so if you can just talk about the ongoing commitment, I know you and your commitment. So that comes, in this position. And so, Chris, get ready to wrap it up for us before we throw it over to Ian. Before folks, Mayor Wu is going to join us at 9:30.
Well, I think I'll make it about the point that you made, James. We have an amazing curator, Dr. Audrey Lopez, who is really focused on making sure that the Greenway is as inclusive as possible. The Greenway is a reminder, just like the cleanup of Boston Harbor and just like the giant EPA project down in Marcia's neighborhood, Hyde Park, right now, that we are capable of doing great things, and we have to do great things again. But one of those great things is centering people of color and inclusion in our downtown core areas. And so when you walk out of South Station and you see a young Black woman on a mural that is 4 stories tall, as opposed to a central artery that used to divide neighborhoods, now you're centering a young Black woman in the middle of Boston. That sends a strong message. That's who we are in Boston. We're capable of great things. One of those great things is a resilient and inclusive waterfront.
Ian?
That was beautiful. I retweet. I loved everything you said, Chris.
Retweet, share, like, all of it.
I wanted to highlight something I saw in the comments earlier from Anthony Davis Jr. that I think many of us know. He works for the coalition and is connected with James. And Anthony's down in Mississippi today, and he said he started the day, beautiful sunrise in the water, and it was a great way to start the day. And I think that having experiences on the waterfront in a place that you're comfortable with and a place that you know can make a huge difference when you're in places that you're less comfortable with, places you don't know as well. So I know Anthony, I think Anthony's probably okay with me sharing this, I don't know if he's done a lot of deep sea fishing, but he's out on a waterfront area that makes him feel more comfortable. He's used to this. Yep. He's comfortable being in a waterfront because of everything we've done in Boston. And so I think that opens doors for inclusivity all over the world, not just Boston, but it's taking steps to make people feel more comfortable with these spaces that will go a long way. So I really love seeing that, Anthony, and also just wanted to give him a shout out because he does great work with us.
Absolutely, with you, with me, and a few other people. It is just so amazing, and I really have to highlight Crew and all of your work individually and a part of Crew as well. There is a buzz. There is a movement around inclusivity, specifically around the waterfront. All the great work that former Chief White Hammond did with client resiliency and things like that. The mayor's committed to it. Our governor is committed to it. A lot of the elected officials are committed to it. But one of the great ways to get things moving is the fact that we ensure that everybody knows. And there's also the other side, and this is coming from me, Jimmy, that when you have folks like this that are working to create the spaces, though there may be real past experience that may make some folks shy, we know that some folks aren't really into the water for right now. We also have to be brave and go into safe spaces and take advantage of when opportunities are made for inclusivity and diversity. And I've worked with these folks, and it's not a window dressing just because it's the right thing to do post 2020. Nah, folks are really committed to doing this, and you really feel it. Luz, you talked about familiarity and coming back. Like, I'm now seeing your coworkers and I remember names, and we're 2 years ago, I had a point of reference because I felt I was a vet coming there, and I was corrected, but it's just that it's a bond and sort of movement family thing that's happening here, and it's with Crew and it's with others, but I really believe that you all are really a big part of pushing that. I want to leave room for all three of our guests to give us about a good 30 seconds of closeout before our mayor gets ready to join us. And I'll start that off. This time I'll end it with our Bishop Cook. I'll start with Bishop Cook and then we'll end with Luz. And so, Chris, any final words, final thoughts?
Well, the only thing I would say is that, yes, you highlighted strong leadership. Vicky Sproul at the aquarium, doing really, really critical work, leaders across the city. Certainly, Reverend White Hammond, the incoming Brian Sweat, who's returning to City Hall. We're excited about that. Mayor Wu is about to join us. Mayor Wu has focused on inclusion, especially equitable waterfront development. I guess the last thing I would say, though, is that is all a result of community-driven good pressure. And so we need the community to not let up on that pressure, and the community needs to drive us leaders so that we continue to do the right thing.
Community pressure. I love that, Chris. Marcia, go ahead.
And what I would say, talking about community pressure, we're so grateful that we were able to be a part of this work from the genesis of it, giving input. And I really believe, just like you, Chris, that with communities really reaching out and coming together, we really can have an accessible waterfront. Certainly can be inclusive, as the work you're doing is really powerful, but we really want to be inclusive in terms of hearing their voices and having their voices give input to how the waterfront looks and feels. Waterways are places of vibrancy and vitality and economic success. And so we want to make sure that all of us have a chance to give input into that. So I'm glad that we're doing this work and having this conversation continually. Thank you, Jimmy, every year for hosting it and for having us.
Absolutely. And to reiterate Chris's point there that you said, don't let up, because you talked about the policy and the community pressure. I love that. Luz.
Yeah, +1 to everything everyone already said. I'll just add making sure that this is a priority with kids in school, starting young.
Swimming.
Making sure they see a connection to the water, how they can play a part, whether it's formally becoming a marine biologist or it's just in their day-to-day, how can they be a champion for all of this work? That's something I feel really passionate about.
Absolutely. All of our guests, we thank you so much for being with us today. We're getting ready to bring in our mayor in a couple of seconds. Luz, thank you. Marcia, thank you. Chris, thank you. And we will see you, if not before, starting on the 15th, before our folks go. And our mayor is going to speak to this in just a couple of seconds as she supports it. Don't forget, you can go to jwj.info/WFW24. That will take, it's just a shorter link to take you to all of the events that's going on the waterfront. And you can go to their main page from that link and get all information. There's the health piece that Ian and I posted in the comments, and you can go there as well. So thank all three of you, and we will see you starting on the 15th.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Ian, in just a second, we're going to get ready to bring in our mayor, and you can chat with her for a second, and we'll get ready to go into our convo with her real quick. And everybody saying hi to our mayor. Thank you so much for coming in, Mayor Wu and Ian. And Mayor, Mayor, you recently released a quote that's coming out, and you have been supportive of this since the beginning. And so, Ian, I'd like for you two to say hello, Mayor, say whatever you would like to say about the importance. We know that climate is a priority for you. Waterfront Wellness Week starts this week, Saturday. So go ahead, you two.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor Wu. Thank you for joining. And James, thank you for letting me stick around for a minute here. And we're so appreciative of your support of Waterfront Wellness Week, where we uplift and highlight our partner organizations, events that are on the waterfront or adjacent to the waterfront, and connect those to public health and wellness.
It's a huge thing for the city. And, part of what we're trying to do in our administration is really go after every opportunity to show and connect our young people and every generation to the world right here in Boston. That's all the cultural institutions, that's job opportunities. And then it's also something as simple as just getting to the waterfront, right? For a lot of Bostonians, and I probably put my kids in this category too. They don't necessarily think about Boston as, the harbor and the islands and being on the water. And, they just learned to swim this last summer. So that was a big part of it. Now there's a different sense of safety around water, but to be able to get our Boston families from every part of the city to feel like they own, this is their waterfront, this is their resource, their fun, health, recreation. It's such an amazing thing. So thank you for all your work.
We appreciate that. And we're so excited for the event that we have coming up, James. We forgot to mention it before.
I forgot Mayor, give us 30 seconds. So, Mayor, as you know, we started on the iPhone. First year, we went to the ICA. Second year, we went to Carson Beach. Java with Jimmy is going to Spectacle Island on June 22nd.
Are you going to go on the whole ferry? We'll be able to see the ferry.
That's the only way we could get there. Yeah, we're doing the whole ferry thing, and we're going to be out there. DJ Jeff 2 times, who is going to be with us, and so we're excited. This is our 3rd year, and so
be careful of the seagulls. I feel like they're in a mood these days.
They did with post-pandemic too, Mayor. Listen, I know our time is short, Ian. I thought it was important to make sure that we reflect that our mayor is in support of this, and also give a time, because Ian and Tracy and Anthony and others and Aaron are doing a lot of great work behind the scenes to make sure that this happens. And so, Ian, thank you for being with us for this crossover. We're going to get ready to jump in with our convo with the mayor. But folks, don't forget, right before we go, you can go to jwj.info/WFW24 to get more information about Waterfront Wellness Week.
Thank you both so much. And I look forward to seeing people at Waterfront Wellness Week. We'll see you this weekend.
Ian, thank you for being here, brother. Mayor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How
I
are
miss you. I didn't get to. I'm doing a lot better. Thank you. I can talk a little bit now. So I know some folks may have been happy last week that I was down a little bit, but thank you so much for asking. I told Michael from press that we would just checking in about what I wanted to talk about, and there's a litany list of about 12 things. Due to your coffee hours being out in community, you weren't able to be here in April, and there were a lot of things that happened. And a couple of things I just want to ask you in retrospect.
Yep.
And I want to make sure we end on a good note, and geographically somewhere down by TD Garden. So we're going to end with that. But let me ask you, Mayor, there was a lot going on with the protests in reference to Palestine. And there was a lot of buzz on social media about, law enforcement. And this isn't just Boston. This was across the country. Law enforcement's response to the encampments and whatnot. And if I were to ask you, in retrospect, if you could, and there are ordinances and things that have to be abided by. Would you do anything different? And if, give us about, and I told Michael, they're stretching me to be on a speed round with you. So if you give us that,
That's more on me than on you. That's on me to just like.
if you could give us the answer in about 30 seconds, because I'm just going to go ahead and say there's news bites and whatnot. And in this space, there's an opportunity for people to hear from you in a very different, comprehensive perspective. And so if you could change anything or do anything different in retrospect, would you?
Yeah, I'll say that first, anytime police officers and law enforcement have to go in and physically resolve a situation, we're already at a place where it's just a different level of risk, safety, conflict, right? So the best solution is always not to even have to go there. And I think our officers would agree with that as well. And so in the city, there's a lot of universities in Boston. There were multiple places where there were demonstrations happening. Boston police were not involved with arrests anywhere where it was on private property. And so when it was about First Amendment and schools, making decisions about their property, we let them do their thing and make their decisions. And for example,
you have no jurisdiction. Just for clarity, you have no jurisdiction in the schools, correct? Unless there's a public safety.
Yeah, exactly. So there's sort of what's called mutual assistance, where if there's a need, then it's within BPD's place to respond. But we were very clear, for example, that at Northeastern, BPD was there because there was a large crowd gathering to kind of watch, and who weren't in the kind of encampment itself. And they were there just as they're there whenever there's any large gathering, but they were not involved at all with the arrest. At Emerson, this was a different situation because this was a public right-of-way. The school doesn't have their own private property that's like a green space, or they're just a full city campus. And so when we began hearing complaints from residents who lived in the buildings that are also off the public way, or people trying to get to the doctor's office there, or the state transportation building, then our fire department went out, they assessed the situation. There were fire hazards that they documented and sent over notices.
Hopefully it's just a quick lag. There's a lot of internet traffic over at City Hall. Oh, Jesus.
Oops. Okay.
There she is. She's coming back.
We tried over the course of 4 days to go through the school, to go through organizers on the ground, to go through other means to say, if you just remove the fire hazard and public safety blockages of the tents, stay there, protest, right? 24 hours a day. We don't need you to leave the area or anything like that. But you also have to be honest that some of the goal behind these demonstrations is to push to the point of conflict with, like, the point of civil disobedience is to disobey the law, right? Is to get to the point where you're making a statement, and then organizers often are making a choice between whether they are looking to get arrested or not. And even if they're choosing to get arrested to draw the visibility to the issue that they're highlighting and the message that they're sending out, even if they choose they want to get arrested, even if they don't disperse when they're given the opportunity to, don't take the actions that were asked to avoid that situation, even if they escalate physically and themselves are conducting violence, even on some of the law enforcement officers in that moment, it's still the job of police officers to keep everyone safe throughout all of that. That's why it's such a hard job and such an important job. And so when you have people who, there's body camera video showing the asks that were made, please just disperse, please take down the tents, and then everyone kind of locked their arms. And once that happens, to clear the situation, there is physical force that, just to kind of remove people's arms. And so it never ends up in the ideal situation once that has to be the pathway that we go down. So what would I've done differently? I think, we really pushed to try to work through the school and to work through direct organizers on the ground. Were there other organizations or faith leaders or others that maybe we could have also tried to engage to just look to de-escalate the situation? That's something I've been thinking about.
Okay.
But I think we tried to be as clear as possible and to give multiple days, including on the day of, opportunities to say, we really don't want to introduce this kind of pathway. And unfortunately, sometimes in demonstrations, that is part of the goal.
And you did, you kept it 100 and said the whole point of protesting is civil disobedience, to disobey.
I've done it, right?
Mayor, okay, all right. We again, I want to stay in good graces with folks. And so there's another thing that, for a couple of months, Mayor, and in October, it was a question I asked you that kind of publicly pushed the springboard for a while, where mass and cast was not a subject that I talked to you about for a couple of months. However, as you know, as I always do, when the announcement goes out, you're coming on, I get the messages, and there's a little bit back of an uptick, and I actually had been through there a couple of times since you've been on, and it's interesting there. And you did name before that change of weather. Mm-hmm. It was that was the fall. Now, and you, to think about it, you actually had talked about come spring and summer, there may be a different approach. So we're here. What is it that we're going to do? Because there was a glimmer of change that happened there. And so again, this one, if we could kind of do quick, where are we at? What are we going to do to de-escalate the traditional increase that happens in the dense centralized area of mass and cast?
Yeah. So many of the people that we knew really well, because they were regular kind of residents who were staying there, night after night after night. When we did the big housing surge in November, people were connected to treatment services, housing, shelter, etc. The challenge is always that there are new people who come through from all over the country, really, and certainly from outside Boston. So we have this infrastructure that is now bigger and stronger because we don't have to just stand on Atkinson Street and concentrate in one area. And not having the tents there also makes a big difference, because the tents were where you couldn't see if there were weapons inside, if there was illegal activity inside, if there was violence occurring connected to that. And so maintaining that has still been, even though it's as you said, a different challenge with a different kind of number of people there in warmer weather versus colder weather, not having the tents there permanently still is putting us in a different and better, safer position than we were a year ago this time. So I think we're still trying to work through, obviously the long-term solution is having dedicated treatment space for people to stay for many months at a time. Long Island and all the permitting process and the How many years that's taken is absolutely ridiculous, but we are still working through that. And then in the meantime, we have this infrastructure where our public health and community teams, our mobile outreach teams, are really working citywide to try to connect people to resources. It's just more and more and more people.
I was just getting ready to ask about that. You know, there was the move of the decentralization, and with that, unfortunately, comes disbursement. And I was going to ask about the mobility of the mobile teams, but you just mentioned it. They're citywide.
They're citywide. One other dynamic is that we've had with new immigrant families. There's been a lot of attention on the family shelter system, but there are a lot of individual adults who are arriving with as part of the flow of migrant individuals who are moving all around the country. And it is the city's responsibility to operate the shelter system for everyone who doesn't qualify for the state's family system. So if you're not here with a child, you're not a pregnant woman, et cetera, you are basically, it's up to the city and our partners. And the number, we had at last count, I think it was about a third of our beds are now at the individual shelter system are now newly arrived migrant individuals. And so the strain, as we see more people arriving who have need for recovery and treatment with the opiate crisis, is now, there's even less space given the additional need that has been introduced from new immigrant individuals as well. And so everything's kind of coming together all around this recognition that we just don't have enough housing in the city for everyone.
Absolutely. I wanted to, as you were talking, we're going to move on. This was just my question and thought. If it gets to a point, and I'm sure you can call and lean on her, but will you pull Tanya back for advice and counsel? And I think she was still kind of, advising, though she's in a formally different position. And so I just thought about that as you were talking, because she's the expert, you know what I mean, as far as helping with that. And so, Mayor, I would like to give that subject some more time, but again, we're sort of a little bit on a speed round in catching up. We talked about Waterfront Wellness Week. We talked about the encampments, and also we can get ready to get into a couple of other things. One thing on the sort of challenge side is you and Dr. Yablo, the numbers are the numbers, though you, Mayor Menino and Marty, have always said numbers are numbers, they what they are. But if someone is experiencing this, and in my, I did meet with him lately, the numbers are down. And as you know, but the concentration of where the numbers may be down, the incidence of where the lower numbers are still the same. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think so. Although it's just, it's hard to, I don't, it's like, one is, you just feel it so, like when part of my job is meeting with families after the unthinkable has happened.
Yes.
The rest of the country is looking at Boston and saying 4 homicides, like that's so low, when Chicago is now at 204, and other cities are just, but I know those 4 families, right? Like I know, and then oftentimes it may be directly or indirectly impacting families who experienced something last year or 5 years ago or 10 years ago as well. And so the compounding effect, you really can't go by just statistics from 1 year. Although we do need to recognize when different approaches and efforts are making a difference. And from Isaac and Commissioner Cox and the Ending Violence Leadership Team that has been put together, and then the Youth Safety Group that meets weekly, I don't think it's a coincidence that we've seen the 2 lowest ever gun violence years ever recorded, last year or the year before, at the same time that we've seen the highest ever paid youth summer jobs participation, the highest ever block party, activation. And so it all kind of fits together. And that's why I keep saying public safety is absolutely about our police department, EMS, fire, our first responders. It is also just as importantly about our street teams, our public health commission, our Center for Youth and Families, our libraries, our parks system.
Parks and Rec.
Matters.
Mayor, I was on a Zoom in a national call, I want to say about 3 months ago. And I'll be honest, when Dr. Yablo first introduced Parks and Rec as being a strong part of the violence prevention, I was like, Brother Donnell Singleton had mentioned it with poetry in the park and things like that. I'm on a call. This woman said that in the middle of the call. I'm like, Dr. Diablo, you would not believe. And so I just wanted to give credence to that. Those other sort of inapparent departments and services and resources that they offer are a part of that whole overall violence prevention plan. And so I just wanted to touch on that because I moved in the space a lot. I met with Dr. Diablo. You all released, and within like 2 or 3 days, I'm looking online and I'm like, Jesus Christ, just, you know what I mean? Just the announcement, we're not okay, we're doing better. And then bam, all these incidents coming up. And so I do want to get into a couple of things because we have about 10 minutes left. And speaking of those other departments, and I saw a tweet or a news story the other day, we're in budget season. How are things going with the budget?
We're in the kind of very last phase of it. And I guess I want to make clear because, again, sometimes there are parts of this that aren't as visible from the outside.
Exactly.
So what's most visible from the outside is that, the mayor administration, we submit our budget in April to the council. They have a lot of hearings, do a lot of vetting of it, and then they submit amendments, early June. And then it's our job to respond to those amendments. And then they take a final vote where they need 2/3 to override my final version. That's the way the system is laid out. And what it can feel like, and I think publicly sometimes how people see it is, okay, well, how many amendments did the council get through? But the reality is that once the first version of the budget is set, in order to amend anything seriously and significantly, you have to cut seriously and significantly from other
go through the whole budget. There's no new money.
The budget, basically, the process runs an entire year. It doesn't just run these 2 months. Before we even start planning for State of the City, where in January I lay out a lot of the plan for the year ahead, those things have to have funding to pay for what I say there. So we actually start planning late summer, early fall about budget for planning for State of the City, and then the budget's officially submitted in the months after that. But I'll give an example. We just announced Alexandra Valdez as the director of the city's new cultural affairs office. And that was in the budget this year that was submitted because she's in this new role. She has several liaisons who are focused on specific communities like the Latino community, Caribbean, Haitian, et cetera, et cetera. And this came about because the city council had called hearings on this, wanting to have specific outreach within City Hall for specific communities. Councilors Mejia, Fernandez Anderson, and Worrell had a series of hearings on this. And because of that, it ended up getting created, and then we put it in the budget. It doesn't appear in the amendments, right? It's not like it didn't come out of the actual Ways and Means process, but it came from hearings that the council had months before last year. Same thing with the new funding that we have for parks, or the new funding that we have to increase the number of EMTs so we can add an ambulance and respond faster. All of these are from discussions with counselors and community members in the year before the budget was proposed, and then it got in. So it's a little stressful, I think, when everyone's like, well, how come you only accepted $2 million of amendments out of $4 billion of budget or whatever? But the entire budget is based on what we heard over the last year from counselors and from community members. They did a really thorough and amazing job this year of highlighting places where there has been historical underspending because positions haven't been able to be filled as easily, like parking, ticket.
Hold on. You got openings for parking tickets?
There's certain roles where we gotta, people kind of cycle in and out, and we have worked over the last year to settle new contracts so the wages are higher so that people actually can sustain in these roles. But historically, they have had higher vacancies. And so in those places, the council did cut because they said you haven't spent as much. And we did accept some of their analysis and saying, okay, you're absolutely right. And we want to, respect what you did. And so we took some cuts. We took some amendments. It's not the entirety of what they proposed, but that's because we also had a lot of internal vetting so that the dollars that were being proposed for the police department weren't just so they would have an increase and have more money floating around. We settled a new police contract that included things like adding civilians to paid details. That's going to take money to completely redesign the system of how details are assigned, not station by station by station, but across the entire system, how to train new people to do these roles. And so that funding, even though it's new, there's something attached to all of it when we propose it to begin with.
There's a lot of I hate to, because backroom has there's a lot of behind the scenes things that go on. And it's not just the tweet, mayor rejects, council sends back, mayor. It's a lot of, going back and forth. And I had to school someone the other day on this thing that we used to call the other side of five. Oh, well, I want to use my time wisely, but how has it been to change? Never mind. I'll ask that for when we have more time. A couple of other things, and some folks in the comments, and I want to give balance between it being a community. I mean, Mayor, you can see him. So there's one.
Yep.
Yo, the mayor in the comments is so funny to me. Belinda just posted one. She's having a housing stability issue. If either someone, and my mom is too, folks have been, we're trying to get her connected with Age Strong. APM property management is very interesting. So Belinda has a housing stability issue. And also Pastor Marion is asking for a quick update about White Stadium. And then there's a question a little bit about ranked choice voting. And then we're going to talk about what's going on this evening, where you're going and hanging out. And so,
okay, so I was trying to chat back, but it says I'm not connected to YouTube. So for whatever reason, I can't. Okay, so Miss Belinda, please, if you can get your contact information to us, I'll make sure we follow up on this. If you tell me
who you need me to get it to send it to, I'll in the background get her in touch with. Who do you want me to connect her with?
It would be helpful to know what neighborhood she's in, and then we can connect to the right neighborhood liaison there.
Belinda, please put the interview in there. And then Mayor, there were a couple of listening sessions. The city did one, NWSL Boston did one. Real quick, where are we at with White Stadium?
Yeah, we've had just a bazillion additional meetings and really, really great conversations. The design of the stadium did change a lot in response to feedback. There's a focus on opening up more space, especially on non-game days and all that. So we had multiple design meetings this month. We also had transportation meetings. And so they're in the process now of just trying to get final feedback from residents before they might present to the Landmarks Commission and some other city boards around that. But it's been just really, really impactful to have Franklin Park Coalition and other immediate abutter groups involved in shaping all the specific details of this. We've also worked really closely with the track and field community to get their designs, because it's little things like, you might not think, if you're not there every day doing that you also need storage for the hurdles to go, just because you have a track doesn't mean you have everything. And then so being able to build in all those extra little details has made a big difference. Okay, ranked choice
voting was presented to you by the council. I
haven't seen their exact proposal yet. What I keep saying on ranked choice is that I think it's helpful for Boston to have two opportunities to understand what the choices are. And I heard all the time that, from people who are saying, it's too overwhelming in the prelim, too many choices. I'm going to wait until it gets down to the final. And then once there's two options, then I'll make a decision. Now, I always encourage people to vote from the very first time, but I do know that it's just it gives extra awareness and accountability when you get to a stage where people really have to be clear about what the difference is. So I'm open to ranked choice voting for, selecting the top two and then continuing to have the two. But ranked choice voting often is pitched as a way where in a Democrat versus Republican primary, when it's mostly Democrats, there is no point to the second election. But at the city level, we don't have, it's not a party election. So it's always the top two, and you always have that choice anyway. But I'm open to incorporating it along the way. I just haven't seen the council's proposal.
30 seconds when you talk about a municipal election. Yes or no, do you believe the mayoral election has already started based on that article that came out?
Some other people are trying to start it. Hasn't started.
We're just going to leave that one right there. Mayor, we got 1 minute left. First two games. The Celtics.
They look good. They look good. They are they are a team. They got each other's back. It's just it's amazing watching so many of them just running circles around, because you can't, when you have two I mean, whatever. What am I to say that there's like superstars and non-super? Everyone's a superstar in the NBA.
Yep.
But when you have a team that's like 6, 7, like 8 people who could just like pop in and go off, that makes all the difference. They have such a good home record that we are hoping by packing TD Garden when they're away, we can still
wait a minute.
Magic and send
Mayor, you are not you so there was a different intentionality in going to the Garden. You're kind of putting that home team thing on while they're away. I can't.
Yes. So for the first time ever, we are having a watch party with TD Garden and the Celtics in the city. When, you know, obviously the players won't be there, but it'll have the screen as usual, and they're going to do all the entertainment as usual. They'll have concessions. It'll feel like a home game, except you just watch on the screen. So I'm going to go with the kids tonight. It was $18 for tickets, which is also a different level of access than you normally can have. And
Did you steer that, Mayor? Did you steer the affordability of that?
Yeah, I mean, they needed to cover the costs. Again, they're putting on all of the entertainment and
That's real. Bills got to be paid.
But it was a huge thing, and we're so grateful and excited to try this out for the first time.
Okay.
And also, even if you're not, because both of them got sold out, even if you're not inside TD Garden for the away games, we're still shutting down Canal Street.
Yep,
so we have the fan zone and hub, finals hub there. So there'll be lots of activity on the street. You can watch at the, restaurants, hang out, and just kind of be in the area as well.
Mayor, last question you alluded to, and I think you understand the context. And as much as you've observed and appreciate my growth, there's still a little old Jimmy there a little bit. Can you just casually speak to the fact of the expectations of folks that are leading with you and around you about how you expect them to engage with community? And you know to which I'm speaking.
Yeah, no, I know. There's always room for growth. And I think we try to approach this whenever a community member comes to me with a sense of frustration. Like, I hear that not as a personal, attack or anything, but like, we have been part of systems that have failed people for a very long time. And therefore it's our responsibility to also try to address and be as hold ourselves to a standard where we recognize all of that. So I hope that there's a little grace for the folks who are working in the city now as well, because it is a tough time, but we definitely need to make sure that we're representing everything about ourselves as well as we can.
Mayor, I will say this, and then I'll let you go. If the mayor of the city can call and be contrite about something, so can the cabinet chief. And so with that being said, I love you. I appreciate you. Have fun tonight. Are
you going?
No, because I'm still supposed to be resting a little bit. I went for follow-up yesterday and I got a nod from the doctor on some things, and other things they was like, you're 52, your body. No, so I'm going to be home screaming. But at some point I'll let you know when this is going to happen. We're looking at doing the women behind the scenes. We got to shout out Mel. We got to shout out Sister Cash, who's in the office behind the scenes. And then Michelle Thompson, the national anthem. You all have seen each other a couple of times. You're a musician. Last thing I promise, Michael, we're going to get out of here. Her opening the national anthem and the way that she sings and does it, along with others, Lisa Bella and whatnot. But I'm looking to get them three on to talk about women behind the scenes. Yes. What do you say to those women that are a part of this going on?
They're the heart and soul of the organization. I mean, I feel like my kids, when they think about the games, like Mel is like the face of the organization for them. So, and there's some, shout out to like Abby Chin and some of the journalists and reporters also who are representing and making history as well on the court.
All right, Mayor, thank you so much for being with us. I hope to see you soon. Coffee hours are winding down in a week or two.
So many of them.
And whatnot. And so please give Phil my best. I have a couple of, I get the emails and I got to forward them to Phyllis. So please tell her I said, hey. But Mayor, thank you so much for being with us as you do every month. We're working to see how July 3rd is going to work, the day before the 4th. And so hopefully you'll be back with us next month. But thank you so much for being here. Strength your way. And thank you for what you're doing.
Same to you. Thanks for everything.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah. So, folks, we got to catch up with our mayor, who we haven't catched up with since April. I hope I did a good balance between Belinda and Doug and Jesus Lord, Pastor Marion, who had questions as well. And so Nikki is over on Instagram. Good to see you, sister. Rooted in Roxbury is there as well. Jay, my good friend, they're over there on Instagram as well. So thank you so much for being over there on Instagram. Shout out to everybody who is over on Twitter as well. Thank you all so much. Listen, thank you for being with us. We don't have a guest scheduled for tomorrow. So right now it's going to be just me, but don't be surprised if I take a break tomorrow and just continue to recover and rest. But thank all of you for being here. Before I go, I got up about 2 something this morning and I heard my phone go off, and I just thought it was one of those like bank texts, hey, deposit or your account is low. And I looked at the phone and I got a text from Miss Teresa, Miss T. Though not a charter member, she gets charter credibility. She's been hospitalized. I'm not going to go into the details, but I need every mother. I need everybody that believes in the power of prayer. I believe everybody that believes in sending positive healing and positive vibes towards your way and things like that. I need y'all to do that for Miss Teresa immediately. There's question around possible surgery. And my mother can tell you, with my aunt, with her, a couple other family members, doctors would say X, Y, and Z. And for whatever reason, I'm gifted to casually say, nah, I know what the doctors say. So now we know exactly what to pray for. And it ain't going to go that way. And I can tell you about 3 or 4 times out of 5, it's happened. And so everybody may not practice the same faith, but I can tell you this man is faithful. And so y'all, all right, I feel a little something different here. So I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. But y'all better bombard heaven on this woman's behalf. Thank you all so much. Ty, good to see you over on Instagram this morning. DL, what's up, brother? Good to see you in the room from Black Dollar USA. You all keep Miss Teresa in prayer. We'll keep you up to date. Right now, please, for those of you, don't reach out, don't bombard, let her recover. And it won't even be recover. Because I got the type of faith that when they go in to get ready to prep her, they look at something on the results and say, wait, something changed. With that being said, we'll see you guys. Right now, we're planning to see you guys tomorrow. I might go live tonight while the game is going on. A little bit. But we'll see you guys. Right now, the plan is to see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thank you for being with us today. And we'll talk with, June 18th, the very first Black Java, no sugar, no cream, is taking place next Tuesday, June 18th. Some of the logistics I'm working out. But what I wanted to mention was 2 great influential industry. One's an artist. The other one's an artist who plays drums. They're putting together an awesome program called The Real Program that's taking place on July 17th and 19th. We're going to chat with them on the 18th. I'm working out where and the logistics and all of that. But we're also going to talk about the industry and the music business. They are 2 icons that are moving in this space, both humble, Keith and Foster and Brother Free as well. And so they'll be with us in our guest next Tuesday evening. The backup is always virtual, but right now I'm trying to pull it. It's a small sort of private event. I've told folks to email me if they would like to come. But we're going to chat with them. We're going to record it. We are not going to go live. We're going to record it and put it out at a later date. But Black Java, no sugar, no cream is a new show that we're going to put out, and it probably will go once a month. Nikki from Instagram said, no sugar, just caramel swirl. I'm not messing with you. All right. So keep that in mind next Tuesday. Don't forget yoga at New England Aquarium at 8:00 in the morning next Friday. We'll be there. Also on June 22nd, I have given our Mother's Board and others a pass. We're on an island for 5 hours. Logistics, that could be difficult. We don't want to be out on the island and you need to leave or something and you can't. And so we're giving a pass to others that may not be logistically the easiest thing to do. But those of you that are able to and want to attend, the event on Spectacle Island. The link and information is going up for that soon. All right, so that's it for me. We will see you guys tomorrow morning. Right now, the plan is to see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.